is me, Cyber Warrior, and today is Tech Tuesday. Now, before we get started, I have a little bit of support I got to lend to a buddy of mine. He actually became a patron. His name is Alan. Thank you, Alan. For you, because you asked, I have two of these, so we're gonna do the wave. And thank you, Alan, for becoming a supporter on Patreon. Now, moving forward, if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please hit it. If you haven't hit the little alarm bell to get notifications anytime I post a new video, please do that as well. And like I just said, I am on Patreon. The link is down bottom, Cyber Warrior Studios. Go ahead, and if you wouldn't mind helping me out and becoming a patron, it is greatly appreciated, especially because I am trying to start up Cyber Warrior Studios for you guys. So a lot of big things. If you didn't see Happy Hour when I went live for my Labor Day special, please go back and check that out as well. As I explain what Cyber Warrior Studios is and what I'm trying to make it. Now, for Tech Tuesday today, I am going to go a little more technical. Last week was business enablement. This week is going to be about OSINT, so open source intelligence. Now, there are several ways you can utilize this. Open source intelligence can be utilized, and it is utilized to help track down missing kids or missing people in general, or it is used to gather intel about clients that you may be operating pen tests against or something along those lines. So for us to do this, we have to use, again, it's open source intelligence. So the goal is to use tools that are not going to touch the company network. You never make any connections or anything like that. All you're doing is using freely available information that's already out there and can be found in a matter of seconds. I know people that can gather an entire dossier that can really do some damage in about an hour. So we're going to get right into it. So to start out, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look, and we're going to look at CentralOps.net. Now, CentralOps.net can do a lot of different things, but what we use it for most recently is finding information about domains or IP subnets and things like that. So for your viewing pleasure, we are going to do some OSINT on my own domain of the blog site I run, which is Scheller Cybersecurity. So if we do that, we're going to go in here. Now, understand this is a blog site. It used to be a business. I pulled a lot of that information down. But be that as it may, you would go to something like this, type in the domain that you're looking for, and scroll through. So the who is record, sometimes you can find some information in there. Like you see that the registrar is Google LLC because it is a Google domain. And then the fact that my name servers are Wix DNS tells you I'm hosting the site through Wix. Again, it's just a blog site. If you want to go after my blog site, I mean, come on, let's be real. Now, going down, this is where it gets interesting, because this is where a lot of companies, a lot of people slip up. If you do not privatize your DNS and your registrar information, it becomes public here. So all your admin info, your tech contacts, things like that are freely available through something like this. So a lot of companies do not do that, which is where you lead into finding information about that email address, that person, still if they still work at that company, things along those lines. Because I privatized mine, all you see is a name server and the fact that everything else says contactprivacy.email. So there's nothing else you can really grab from mine, which is good. Doesn't mean it's not vulnerable. Everything is, but more secure than what a lot of other people would use. And because it's just open source intelligence and we're not actually attempting to attack the domain itself, then we're good to go. Now we go to dnsdumpster. We can do the same thing here. So we go to dnsdumpster and we take a look at shellercybersecurity.com on this one. And this is where you would see for clients that are running like OWA, or any type of email servers, this is where you normally try to find like SPF records or any subdomains. Every once in a while, you'll catch those in here as well and things along those lines. As you can see, my DNS servers, Wix, DNS.net, mail servers. Yes, I use Google. We discussed that already. And then my host record. Text records. In this text records is where you would see your SPF records. So if there were other IP subnets that belong to it or things like that, that basically will help you with your target. Now, again, the reason we're doing it this way and individualizing the sites is because what we want to do is target something. All right, we want to narrow down our search. There's a lot of tools out there that can do a lot of open source intelligence, and it's free, but especially with scripts or anything that does it in mass, it can be a lot of data overload. And as I'm going to show you later, you can actually get a lot of false positives from it. So we're going to go through, we're going to do dnsdumpster. All right, and we saw what we have there. And again, you see the mail servers, you see DNS servers. And again, this is free information, so I'm not trying to hide anything from you. It is what it is. Now, the next thing we have, and I ran, and it's subdomain finder.c99.nl, and that is actually going to give you all the subdomains that belong to any domain address. Anything it has in its records anyways. As you can see, I don't have any. Again, it's a blog site. So why would I have subdomains? I'm not an enterprise. But here's where it gets interesting. Because if you're going after a client or legitimately doing this in a pen test engagement, this is where you look for things like test dot whatever domain or QA, dev, your VPN login sites, your mail login sites. You'll also get a lot of that information from Subdomain Finder. So you'll be able to find all this stuff. And again, all you do is put the domain in, put whatever it is, .com or .org or whatever the case may be, and it'll pull all that information up for you. Finally, we get to the last one. And this one is fun because if you happen to come across an account on the CentralOps that has maybe somebody's contact information, and once you verify that they still work at the company by going through things like Google Dorks and LinkedIn, whatever the case may be, to see if they still work there, come here and see if they've actually been pwned. And if that email address has, a lot of times you can get those lists or find a way to get those lists, and password reuse is unreal. And with password reuse, you end up getting people's credentials. So, and again, this is all open source. I'm not doing anything special. I'm not actually going out and touching the network or interacting with any of these people directly. It's all free information online. So you can go here, type in whatever email address you want. So if I type in sales@shellercybersecurity.com, and hey, no pwnage found for my sales address. So back when this was a business, this was an email address I used, and no pwns. So if there was, then you would go here and it would show you what breaches occurred that had that information available. So now let's get to the fun one. It's going to give you a little bit of data overload, but at the same time, it can help you get a lot of information very quickly without going through these sites. Now, if you are building a pen test report, if you are building an OSINT report or anything like that, it is better to target these and do it individually as opposed to en masse. However, if you are not including OSINT on your pen test report necessarily, or if you're comfortable just taking screenshots and clips of the scripts you ran and explaining it out, then the next tool I'm going to show you, which I've discussed in previous videos, is going to be a huge help. So if we go over and we come here, now the tool I'm going to show you I've discussed before, and it's by Lee Baird, and it's called the Discover Scripts. Now essentially all it is a huge bash script that runs commands that are already built into Kali. So if we go to, and these are always in /opt. If you go to the GitHub page for Lee Baird for his Discover Scripts, he will tell you how to install it and do everything. So from here, if I do an ls, you can see that I have reports and things like that in here. So if I go cd report, just because I want to move mine, why is that there? Actually, that'll work. Let's just remove it. First, let me make sure I have what I need. Come on. Oops. here, go to the reporting framework, root data. All right, cool. So they already moved it. So we're going to move it myself. And move root data cybersecurity.com. Oops, move -r. And to root desktop. You suck at life. There it goes. All right. So now I can actually regenerate this report while still showing you what I need to. So we go to discover.sh. We're going to do a domain. Passive. Again, we want passive because we do not want to interact with the target. We're going to put in my blog site and or company because it is registered. And we're going to do cybersecurity.com. Hit enter. And it's going to run all these tools. So AMAS, Recon NG, the Harvester, DNS Twist, DNS Recon, and a bunch of Google searches, Bing, and things like that. And it's going to go through and it's going to run all this stuff. But since I already ran it and I don't want to waste your time, what we're going to do is we're just going to look at the report. So let me close out of it in this browser so that we can just view what it has. And then I'm going to show you the other results and passive recon. Now here's the thing about what I mean about data overload. And here's the problem with it. So you can see here, and let me make my screen bigger so you can actually see. All right, you know what? Let's do one more. All right, cool. So it tells you here emails, names, DNS records, hosts, and squatting. Squatting is where you get into somebody sitting on your domain, either by bit flipping or different character encodings, whatever the case may be. Apparently I have 2 people squatting on my domain. Now, if you look at the names, I'm not going to lie, none of these people that you see here actually matter. Don't know why they were pulled. It could be LinkedIn. It could be one of many things. That's what I mean by data overload. You never actually know. I know this information was pulled from LinkedIn because on my LinkedIn profile, I have Academic Advisory Board for Security Blue Team on there. Now, I own Scheller Cybersecurity. I own the domain. I own the blog site. But because LinkedIn has Academic Advisory Board, when this pulled my information, this is what it showed. So you can have false information in this. It could be accidental, for whatever the reason may be, it happens. So you just want to validate any information you find, make sure titles and people belong. Now, as you notice, it didn't actually pull up any emails for me, for my domain. I try to do what I can to keep that off so that I don't get spam from other random people that just want to spam my email address. Not to say you can't find it or figure it out. Intelligent people have. I'm just simply saying I don't put it freely out there. At least I try not to. But as we go down through the report, we can also see the DNS records, the same ones I showed you before. If there were any hosts assigned to this, you would see that. And then here's where you see the squatters. Yay, subdomains. So people are putting dots in the host name in order to hide it, or in order to try to do whatever. So that is the Discover script running in passive mode. And again, it'll run a really long time, depending on how much data there is to find. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is part of the Google Dork search that it actually does. This one looks for anything with in-text username, in-text password, if there's careers in the URL, and the site shellercybersecurity.com. Now, because I did a blog post on installing Kali Linux to VirtualBox via ISO, so it is out there, you can go find it. I do have in there things like username, password, and stuff like that. So that is why that popped up. But you can use a Google Dork like that to see if there's login pages or anybody has files or anything like that out there that have usernames and passwords. Another one is just logos. If you're looking for logos or whatever the case may be, it does search this because sometimes you'll find some interesting content. And then finally, there is one more. I believe I have one more up. All windows. here. This is the last one that I actually found anything from. Internal use only. Now, I have nothing of internal use only on my site. Again, it's just a blog, so I'm not going to have any of that. But for whatever reason, it pulled up these 2 blog posts, which is cool. All right, so it's another way to find more of my blog posts. I'm not mad at it. But this is, again, something where if you were to put a company in there and they just so happen to have internal use only documents somewhere on their site, this is one of the ways you may be able to find it. So that is the Discover scripts. And again, there's a lot more links that pop up when it's done running. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Lee Baird's done a lot of work on making this happen. And he continues to improve it and add more every day. So if we look at the actual report, one of the things that he's helping to add, and one of the reasons this report is so invaluable, is if you go home, you can actually change all this stuff, right? So you can change the logo, you can change all that. If we go to general and background, you can actually go in here and modify all this stuff as well. So we're working on, and I'm working with Lee Baird right now. We talk a lot, and this is one of the things that, because he added it in recently, I haven't had a chance to really look at. But if you happen to go through social media and find stuff, this is just another place where you can add OSINT background to your report. So it's an awesome page to kind of go in there and put all that information. It's not automatically populated as of right now. And this just breaks everything down. So your DNS config, all your NS records, your SSL search, things like that. If there's a reverse pointer record, so all that's there. And then registered domains, if there was anything else on it. Subdomains, which we already found, were none. Zone transfer, if we attempted a zone transfer and it worked, so if you're doing an active scan, then this is where you would see that. And then of course you have your host, which there are none. Squatting we found. Trace route, if there was, again, an active scan, would entail doing a ping and everything else. Who is domain? Who is IP? And again, if there were any files, you'd be able to break down the individual files as well. Then you have your different reports. Again, we didn't do active, we did passive. Now here's the thing. You can combine these reports, but in order for you to do that, you have to leave the passive report, or the passive scan and everything in its place, and then do the active one, utilizing the same information, so the same domain name and the same company name. That way all the information populates the way it's supposed to. If you move that report, they will not be combined. It'll actually generate a whole new one, and none of your information will be the same. Well, I can't say none, but it will. You'll have duplicates and conflicting informations. So if there were certificates that found, or web app firewall, again, a lot of this is just active stuff. So that is the Discover scripts. So if you have any issues, if you have any problems, again, reach out. I'm also going to put Lee Baird's GitHub down bottom for the Discover, as well as the sites that I showed you for OSINT. And if you have any questions or if you have any comments, please leave them below. Once again, please hit that subscribe button and that little alarm bell. Please like this if you like this video, if it was informative for you, and share it, tell your friends, whatever the case may be. And if you like the videos I've been putting out, go ahead, sign up on Patreon, be one of my patrons. I would greatly appreciate it, because again, I am trying to do more and more for you guys, including a podcast with Security Happy Hour. So not only is it on YouTube, it's on podcast also. And I am also working on Cyber Warrior Studios. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Again, I'm sorry this is late, and I will catch you next time.